Hi guys, and welcome back to the channel. Today's video, I know guys, I'm sorry you've all been awaiting a what pencil, what paper update, so here it is at long last. I try not to do these too often because obviously unless I've got updates for you guys, I'm just going back over the same things again, but I've been colouring loads and using new pencils lately, so I have some pencil recommendation updates for you. Disclaimer first guys, I'm a hobbyist, not a professional. This isn't a rule or a must follow. This is just, you know, what pencils I've found to work really nicely with certain paper types, and that you might then, you know, want to try them and you know, take some of the pressure off your colouring if you found that your pictures aren't laying down very nicely. Sometimes it's, you know, it's not a talent issue, it's just a compatibility issue. And apart from that, I am a layering kind of colourer. I like to lay down soft layers. I like oil pencils, firmer leads, and I don't mind having to build. So you also need to bear that in mind, because if you're, you know, a Prismacolor smusher, you might not like the same kind of pencils as I do. So having said that, we will begin. We're starting with Joanna Basford. I have the of course, you know, the UK editions because that's where I'm from, and I tend to have the Penguin Art books. That is the publisher that I tend to end up with. So obviously different paper types will make a difference because, you know, different publishers, they do use different papers in their books. So if you have American versions, they might be different and so on. So for these, I have found so far that my polychromos work really well. An addendum to that is the Joanna's Christmas book, which a lot of people have been letting me know of an issue where the paper seems to respond differently to pencils. Now my Joanna's Christmas is also a Penguin publishing, so I know other publishers make a book, so maybe that is the case. So far I found them to react quite similarly. The main thing I will say with polys, you have to slowly build in these books. If you try and put a thicker layer down on this paper, it's not going to turn out very nicely at all. So immediately once you start to cheat the layers, it just doesn't sit right, and it does seem to do that a little bit more in the Joanna Christmas than others. I haven't used a lot of pencils in here yet, so I've started a separate category for Joanna's Christmas, and I will keep you guys updated with what I find in it. Apart from that, I've used my Castle Art pastel tints in the Joanna's Christmas and they've worked really nicely. And I have used my gel crayons dry, and that has gone down really nicely as well. I'm just going to close that book up so I don't get stuff on mine. And so for the other, shall we say, Joanna's books, I've used Black Widows, and they work really nicely in here. I've used Holbein, which I only use Holbein to blend other pencil types, so that's how I use mine, and they work well. The Arteza Expert and the Prismacolor Premier work really nice in here. The Pablos by Caran d'Ache do not for me. I've found those a real struggle, and they really take all the joy out of working in these books. The old Brute Funa, so the original colour round barrels, worked very nicely on this paper. They're a very firm oil based harder pencil, and they are nice. The Brute Funa squares worked nice in here, as did the Crayart and the Castle Arts for as well as they can, because they're not my favourite, you guys know, but you know, they work okay if that's what you've got. The Mitsubishi Une 888, they're like a student grade pencil. They did not work nicely on this paper, but I'm not a fan of the Mitsubishi, so that might be tainting my opinion there. The Brute Funa 520 went down really nicely in this book. The Speyer Farben, however, I did not enjoy working with at all. The Felicimo went down quite nice. The Subscription and the Kohinoor Polycolour worked very nicely in these books as well. That takes us from there to the the evil Amazon print. So it's essentially very akin to your copy paper, your cheap and cheerful Amazon paper. I think I've got a few examples of pictures that I've done in here. I'm trying to not show you this month, so I have at least some surprises, but I've worked quite a bit in these books. My Blue Lady, and in this paper, so your Amazon print, polychromos for me are a no, they don't work very nice at all. The Derwent Light Fast go down quite nicely, and the Black Widows are lovely on this paper, especially grayscale. The Lyra Rembrandt Polycolour worked quite nicely. They're not my absolute favourite on this paper, but they do go down nicely. The Holbein to blend other pencils on this paper, especially the Brute Funa squares, are gorgeous. Excuse me. The Derwent pastel pencils I didn't enjoy. The Inktense, if you blend them with alcohol marker instead of water and you're not using a big area, they went down quite nicely in here. The Albrecht Dürer did not. Nothing to do with the pencil, to be honest. It's the water. This paper can't take it. It doesn't react well to any kind of watercolour. The Arteza Experts, lovely on this paper, as is the Prismacolor Premier. And the Pablos by Caran d'Ache worked really nice on this. The old Brute Funa, however, aren't compatible at all. One of my favourite pencils to use on this paper are the Brute Funa squares. The Black Barrel Brute Funas are lovely, as are the Crayart. The Castle Art, again, they work as well as they're able. The Castle Art Pastel Tint went down quite nicely on this paper, as did the Derwent Colour Soft, the Astra Pastelove, the Luminance. This is a Luminance page. The Luminance go down really beautifully on this paper. The Brute Funa 520s work very nicely. I didn't enjoy the Derwent Chroma Floor. The Speer Farben worked really nicely. And the Coloria pencils, their Imaginor pencils, are lovely on this paper. I have found they go really nice over a marker base. I think I've got, just really nice pencils on this paper. And apart from that, I did not like the Felissimo subscription on the Amazon print, nor the Tomboy Rogerton or my Koh-i-Noor Polycolour at all. For the Coloriage Wild books, this kind of nice thick cardstock that you get. This is quite a textured white cardstock. You can hear that. I've actually only ever worked on one page. I used polychromos and they were beautiful, absolutely beautiful on this paper. The Mythographic pages, is that next? No, I'm skipping. The new Amazon, sorry, that's what I meant. That slightly nicer version of Amazon paper they've come out with. It's got a little bit of a sheen to it. I think I've got some example pages completed in here. On this paper, the Polychromos work really nicely, the Light Fast and the Black Widows. My Lyra Rembrandt Polycolour, not so much, didn't enjoy those on this paper. The Prismacolor Premier, my absolute favourite. I know that's as much of a shock to me as it is to any of you if you've watched my channel. They lay down beautifully on this paper. I work in lighter layers and build mine up, and they work really nicely for me. The Pablos by Caran d'Ache are beautiful on this grayscale. My Brute Funa squares are a bit of a hit and miss. I know that's not helpful, guys, but I've worked with them and enjoyed them, and then worked with them and not so much. So I need to play with those a little bit more. They're a yes and no, as are my Luminance. I've had a couple of nice doses of skin with Luminance on this paper, but I haven't liked them for anything else. So, you know, maybe it's just kind of an item preference, like, you know, polys are nicer for hair sort of thing. But that's how I found that to be for me. Then we're Mythographic. So these are the Castle Point books, that kind of really nice thick white slightly textured paper. I think I have an example completed in here. I do. And on this paper so far I've only used my Brute Funa squares, but they laid down really nicely. All those flowers are done in the Brute Funa square. It didn't like my acrylic, my Arteza acrylic as much, has really pulled this paper. So just an FYI there for you guys. So that is that. Then we've got Kirby Rosanna's books. He is usually the Lom Art Publications. I think I have an example in this one as well. I do. Absolute joy to work on this page, although it took such a long time. I'm not good with the long jobs. The dry gel crayon works beautifully on this paper. A really nice rich colour payoff with that. And pencil wise, I've not used many. The Caran d'Ache Pablos worked really nicely. The Brute Funa squares, which is what this page is done with, are an absolute joy. But I did not like the Derwent Colour Soft so much on this paper at all. Oops. From there we go to Rita Berman. I don't have much done in this book. I have more done in some of my others, but I've got this little piece done in here. I've worked with let me see now. I'm trying to remember what pencils this is. Must not have written it down. So apart from that, I've worked in Black Widows in these books and really enjoyed it. Again, these are very similar paper to well, essentially the Kirby books, that very white, nice, shiny paper. But they're quite nice to work in, and the Black Widows go down really nicely. I'm sure this is polychromos. Absolutely not totally sure. About 80% sure. And I think my polys went down really nicely in here. And I don't seem to have written it in my book. So I will have to update you for sure for that one in my next episode. Okay, we then have Jasmine, Beckett, Griffith. I've only actually ever done one page of hers. And this was a labour of love. This paper, whatever this stuff is, hates everything. So Blue Angel Publishing. I don't know much about the paper itself, but it does say it's printed in China, and it's this really quite thick, rather textured cream paper. It looks beautiful, and I would imagine it will take media nicely, but oh, it's a fickle beast. And for this one, the Black Widows were an absolute no for me. The Prismacolor Premier went down much nicer once I swapped to those. They really blend quite nicely on this paper. I think those are the only two. So once I found the Prismacolor, that went really well. I did use the polychromos for the hair, and although I got nice hair out of it, they're not a pencil that I would recommend on this paper. They were hard work, I'm not going to lie, to get that effect. Same for the skin, it was, you know, a labour of love. So they wouldn't be a pencil that I would pick up and, you know, think, oh, I'll do my hair again in that for sure. I would stick to Prismacolor so far in this paper. We've then got the Creative Haven books. These are, of course, Dover Publications. I do have a whip in here. that I've been working on forever. And so for all the pencils in here, my Polychromos I really enjoyed on this paper. The old Brute Funa, absolutely not. The Luminance lay down beautifully, so all the grass in here is Luminance. And then my Felicissimo, it's probably a no for me. I got this beautiful path out of my Felissimos, but it was a really labourful process. I could have got that a lot easier from a different pencil set. So the Felissimo or a no on this paper for me. It's probably why I haven't come back to it so far, to be honest. For sure. And then from there we have the Denise Clett books. I do not have many pages done in these. I think I do have one in here. I do-ish. Needs a background, but it's there. Publication wise, these are Castle Point books as well. So same as your Mythographic books, and it does feel very similar in paper type. I'd have said that slight texture to it. And on this book I used the Black Widows and they were really nice, and the Ortiza Expert were really a pleasure to work in on this paper, and I believe that is all I've used on these. I always forget I have them. That takes us to the Circle of Life colouring book, which is one of my absolute favourites. I've got a few done in this one. We have the sunflower page that I did a bit back. The one we did together in our colouring chats forever. And my recent one, which is definitely one of my favourites, is this Stormy Turtle guy. I used the dry gel crayon technique that I like in the background, and it went down really nicely on this paper. This is of course the UK version of this book, and it's Lom art, so the same as your Kirby books. And so far on this paper, I don't like the Polychromos. The Lyra Rembrandt Polycolour worked nicely. The Ortiza Expert are a no for me. The Prismacolor Premier went down really nicely, and the Caran d'Ache Pablos went down really nicely on this paper. The Brute Funa Square are my absolute favourite on this paper, and the Astra Pastelo worked quite nicely in these books as well. But yeah, so that's that. Only a couple left now, guys. That takes us to Lulu Mayo. Most of my editions, I believe, that I've coloured in are the Swedish versions. And that probably will make a difference to the paper type. I've got a few pages done in these, and so far the Polychromos have worked really nicely. The Lightfast not so much. The Albrecht Dürer go down very nicely. Just be careful while you're not using too much water. The Brute Funa Squares work really nicely in here. The Luminance, however, for me did not cooperate very well on this paper. Definitely not my favourite. And from there we have Hannah Calls On. You guys know I love this book, I work in it a lot. So for this I have this page we did together, and that is a Pan Pastel skin base, and that did go down quite nicely on this paper. We've got this one, I did this as a beads and gem tutorial. Let's see what else we've got done. We've got our beetle in this book completed, and the mushrooms. We also did this as a colour along together on the channel. So for the Hannah Coulson books, and I do believe her newer ones I have, they're not English editions. The older books are, trying to find the publisher, but I can't, but it's the mix, the FSC paper. So if you can hear my dog snuffling around in the background, Lord knows what he's doing. And in these papers so far, the polychromos are really nice laid down in these books, as are the Black Widows. My Lyra Rembrandt polycolour worked really nicely in here. The Holbein, again, blending other pencil types out, really nice. It took... I did not enjoy my Arteza Expert or my Prismacolor pencils in here. But I do like using the Black Barrel Brute Fooner. They work really nicely in here. However, the Astra Pastelo and the Luminance, not so much at all. And then we have my Clara Marcova. Have not done many pages in these books. These are again the Czech editions. I do have an example page in here. And it did, my polychromos work really nicely on this paper, as do the Albrecht Dürer. As always, try not to just, you know, saturate your page too much. It did bleed a little bit, so don't use it on your double-sided. And a little bit of crinkling, but to be expected. They went down very nicely. And then finally we have a bit of Lulu Mayo. I've finally done a couple of pages in her books. I've done this fun guy and this one. This background is Faber-Castell Gelatos, and they went down really nicely on this paper. These are Michael O'Mara Books Limited, and they're a very, like, a bright white, slightly smooth, thicker paper. Really nice. And so far I've used the Black Widows in here, and they've worked really, really well. So yeah, I've been busy away trying to colour different pages in different things for you guys. So I hope this has been useful and you learnt some new paper pencil types. As always guys, if you enjoyed the video, please give me a thumbs up, and if you enjoy the channel, please do consider subscribing, and I will see you in the next one. Thank you guys for watching. Bye.